No matter how confident and prepared a filmmaker might be, it's incredibly rare for every single scene that's shot to end up in the final cut of a movie. Perhaps they killed the pacing or just didn't turn out as the director intended. But on that rarest of occasions, sometimes they were just a little too good. These 10 scenes were all cut from big movies because they were so damn effective at accomplishing their initial goal that they basically ended up detracting from the film overall, sucking all the oxygen out of the room in the process. So I'm Gareth, this is What Culture, and here are 10 movie scenes deleted because they were too good. Number 10, What's It All About Austin? Austin Powers in Goldmember. Let's kick things off with an all-timer, baby. The third Austin Powers film boasts a legendary deleted scene, thankfully featured on the movie's DVD release, where after Austin and his father Nigel temporarily go their separate ways, we're treated to an unexpected musical number. The song What's It All About Austin is obviously a parody of the iconic tune What's It All About Alfie, from Michael Caine's classic 1966 drama Alfie, with almost all of the main Austin Powers characters shown singing a couple of lines, even Robert Wagner in a dress no less. And to top it all off, the number ends with Caine himself softly serenading us, accompanied by actual clips from Alfie, repurposed to represent Nigel and a young Austin in happier times. It's a strangely beautiful scene for an Austin Powers movie of all things, which is reportedly why it was ultimately cut, the emotion proving overpowering enough that test audiences couldn't quite recover from it. Understandable, really. Speaking of musical numbers in movies, I want to know what's your favorite of all time. You let me know in the comment section down below, baby. Number 9, Arthur in the Bathtub, Joker. Given the envelope-pushing nature of Todd Phillips' Joker, it's pretty surprising that the director ended up leaving a scene on the cutting room floor for being just insane. In a Q&A at the Santa Barbara International Film Festival, Phillips revealed that he ended up cutting a scene from the film involving Joaquin Phoenix's protagonist Arthur Fleck and a bathtub. Though Phillips wouldn't specify precisely what Fleck was doing in the tub, he said that it was improvised by Phoenix and its contents wouldn't have been allowed in an R-rated movie. However, he also assured fans that this wasn't because it was pornographic. Before you get any ideas about what the director of Road Trip and The Hangover was cooking up here, calm down. All the same, Phillips seems empathetic that it was absolutely in step with Phoenix's go for broke, ultimately Oscar-winning rendition of Fleck, if ultimately a little too wild even for this movie. Number 8, Josh Brolin's entire role, Suburbicon. Less than 2 weeks before George Clooney's 2017 black comedy Suburbicon premiered at the Venice Film Festival, the writer-director revealed that a major supporting player's entire role had been cut. The actor in question turned out to be Josh Brolin, who, despite being prominently announced to appear in the film, would no longer have a part, even though it had been filmed in its entirety. Speaking on the matter himself, Clooney said that Brolin played a baseball coach for a couple of scenes that were really funny. But Brolin's performance was ultimately hilarious enough that it ended up undermining the film's darker, more suspenseful elements. Clooney said, "After we did our first screening, the one thing that became really clear to me was that the scenes let the air out of the balloon in terms of the tension in the film." When Brolin understandably worried that he'd screwed up his role after learning it had been cut, Clooney responded by sending him the scenes to view for himself, while insisting that they're the 2 funniest scenes in the movie. So that's something, I guess. Number 7, None Kills a Kid, Superman 2. The contentious production of Superman 2 is well noted, with original director Richard Donner being fired after 75% of the movie had been filmed, at which point his replacement Richard Lester reshot almost the entire film. The superior Richard Donner cut of Superman 2 was eventually released on home video in 2006, but the Lester and Donner cuts aren't the only 2 versions of the superhero sequel in circulation. There's also a TV cut of the movie which includes numerous deleted scenes, among them an infamous sequence in which a boy flees from General Zod on horseback, only for fellow Kryptonian villain Non to throw a police siren into the air, which lands in the distance and seemingly kills the kid. Lovely. When a bystander tells the Kryptonians that the victim was only a boy, Ursa almost giddily replies, "And he will never become a man." It's absolutely savage, and only makes the audience loathe Zod and his comrades that much more. Yet it's perhaps also too grim and depressing for what's fundamentally a family-friendly superhero movie, so it's easy to appreciate why it was cut from the theatrical release. This might have been better suited to a Zack Snyder Superman movie, honestly. Number 6. Will Ferrell's Cameo, Romy and Michelle's High School Reunion. Cult classic comedy Romy and Michelle's High School Reunion originally featured a cameo from Will Ferrell, if it wasn't already clear from the title, which was ultimately cleaved away because Ferrell might have understood the assignment a little too well. In a 2017 Facebook Live interview, director David Merkin revealed that Ferrell originally played a waiter who calls Romy on her phone to make her look successful at the reunion, only for the exchange to go embarrassingly wrong for Romy. Merkin explained that having this follow on from the soul-crushing moment where Romy is revealed to have lied about inventing the post-it notes was so upsetting and humiliating for the audience to watch Romy get completely destroyed, the audience couldn't recover from it. We had about 5 minutes of people still sniffling, and so deciding that Ferrell's additional dose of humiliation was just too cruel for the movie to accommodate, his entire cameo was cut, and sadly it's never been released to the public. Maybe one day, right? Thanks for stopping by to watch this video today, you lovely person. Now hit that subscribe button down below for more of this what culture stuff in your life. Number 5. Magnetos Polish Lullaby, X-Men Apocalypse. Given the increasingly unwieldy scale of so many modern superhero flicks, it can be a tough task juggling both the tone and scale, as director Bryan Singer found out while editing the wildly divisive X-Men Apocalypse. You likely remember the devastating sequence when Magneto's wife and daughter are accidentally shot and killed by the police during a tense standoff. But the scene originally went on a little longer. On the film's home video release, a deleted extension of the scene shows a distraught Magneto singing a solemn Polish lullaby while cradling his dead daughter. With commentary accompanying the scene, Singer called it the most heartbreaking cut he'd ever made on a film, explaining that Fassbender's beautiful performance pushed the envelope of emotion beyond the bounds that the film could support. Basically, Singer felt that despite Fassbender absolutely knocking the scene out of the park, it was just too much emotion at this point in the movie. And if we're reading between the lines a little, it further drags out a film that's already trying to pack a ludicrous amount into its 144-minute runtime. Singer added that he cut the scene with mixed feelings and regret. And from watching it, it's clear that Fassbender poured absolutely everything he had into selling Magneto's grief here. It was a hell of a performance. Number 4. Seth kills the monkey cat, The Fly. The final released version of David Cronenberg's The Fly is an unabashedly gross, if unexpectedly affecting, slice of body horror. So the fact that one scene was cut for being too damn disgusting is tough to reconcile. But according to producer Stuart Kornfeld, test audiences were straight up left vomiting at a sequence where protagonist Seth Brundle tries to figure out a way to undo his impending transformation into a human fly monster by fusing a baboon with a cat. What unsurprisingly emerges is a horrific hybrid of the two animals, which attacks Seth, forcing him to beat it to death with a pipe. Beyond the aforementioned vomit, Cronenberg himself claimed that test audiences responded negatively to Seth killing the animal abomination, causing their sympathy for his plight to dwindle, especially after he already killed another baboon earlier during an experiment. Even Cronenberg has a line, folks. And while the scene is worth watching for Goldblum's brilliantly animalistic performance and the sheer can't-look-away grotesquerie of it, it is too cruel even for a movie this unapologetically tragic. Number 3. Sutter drink drives with a child, The Spectacular Now. James Ponsolt's stellar coming-of-age romantic drama The Spectacular Now co-stars Miles Teller as Sutter Keeley, a troubled high schooler who is struggling with alcoholism. The film offers a frank depiction of youthful substance abuse, though one unsettling scene ended up being cut because the filmmakers felt it was so effective in conveying Sutter's drinking problem that the MPAA would have come down on them like a ton of bricks. The scene in question sees Sutter find a young boy wandering around outside a liquor store without his parents, and agrees to give him a lift in his car. However, during the drive, we see Sutter pour some alcohol into his own drink while driving, taking an otherwise heartfelt exchange between Sutter and the boy, and imbuing it with genuine gut-wrenching suspense. Ultimately, the DUI episode ends uneventfully without any harm being caused. But one of the film's screenwriters, Michael H. Weber, noted that it was likely too raw and real a depiction of alcohol addiction for the MPAA to abide. As he put it, Underage drinking and driving on the way to high school with a young kid riding shotgun? They'd probably bring the X rating out of mothballs for a movie with that scene. Probably wise to leave it on the cutting room floor then. Number 2, the Cancer World Tour, Deadpool. Deadpool movies need to pull off a tricky, delicate balance of outrageous R-rated thrills with splashes of earnest, heartfelt character development. But one terrifically acted scene by Ryan Reynolds ultimately ended up tipping the first movie over the edge. A fantastic deleted scene called the Cancer World Tour sees a terminally ill Wade and his partner Vanessa traveling around the world in search of a last-ditch cure. They finally end up in Mexico, only to discover that the cancer clinic is actually ripping patients off, culminating in a fight where an enraged Wade kills the charlatan doctor and flees the scene, leaving Vanessa to track him down. Director Tim Miller called it a really great scene, yet despite feeling that Reynolds effing crushed it, he ultimately decided that it just didn't work with the pacing of the movie. Thankfully, the scene was released on home video for all to see, and indeed it's probably the strongest dramatic showcase for Reynolds in either Deadpool movie to date. But it's also an epic, almost 5-minute bummer that grinds the film to a lurching halt. Simply put, it's a fantastic scene, but not really for a Deadpool movie. Reynolds over-delivered on the dramatic stakes, but it was just too much for the movie to withstand. Number 1, the Blood Ory Event Horizon. Paul W.S. Anderson's sci-fi horror Event Horizon memorably features a scene where the astronauts exploring the titular abandoned ship find a video log, one that briefly shows the original crew taking part in a sexually violent blood orgy, after a portal to hell was opened and drove them insane. In the final film, we see only fleeting glimpses of what went down, but Anderson has spoken many times about how this scene was massively trimmed down during editing, as both the studio and test audiences were basically left nauseated by the original extended version of the aforementioned orgy. The filmmakers reportedly hired amputees and porn actors to shoot the transgressive footage, which, according to special effects supervisor Dave Bonnewell, showed the crew graphically dismembering and abusing one another in intricate, prolonged detail. Anderson was made to remove most of it though, the sequence evidently proving revolting enough that Paramount perhaps understandably thought it might be too far for general audiences. Sadly for those sicko fans out there though, it's never materialized in any capacity on home video, and the condition of the only remaining footage is considered too poor for public release. And I'm okay with that, to be honest.